What's up, guys? We have a special guest today on our channel. Meet Laura. She is a freelance content writer with a background in law. She has her own podcast that she started it with her sister, and she has been mentioned in different Medium publications, like outstanding publications. Hey, Laura, and thank you for accepting this invite. How are you?
Yeah, of course. I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So as you mentioned, I have a background in law and in strategy consulting, and I've decided to, for a period of time, give freelance writing a try. And so that's what I've been doing. I predominantly write for clients, um, which mainly involves ghostwriting, sometimes script writing, um, writing articles for their blog online as well as part of their marketing, and um, general copywriting for their website as well. And then also, as you mentioned, I write for Medium, and that's just the stuff that topics that I find interesting. There's a pretty weird mix of stuff on there. And then, yeah, I have my podcast called Thoughts from Limbo, which I started with my sister in January.
Yeah, guys, the idea to interview Laura came from her Medium article. I stumbled upon her Medium article, and it was about 7 pricing pitfalls every freelancer needs to avoid. And it was so authentic. It was so well written, and I wanted that to become part of the talk. And this is why we call this Money Talks. So, as freelancers, what you need to know about money, how you can position yourselves in the market, how to choose your hourly rate, and generally advice on how you can become better freelancer. So Laura, the first question is one of the most asked questions. How much can a content writer earn?
Yeah, so the first thing that every content writer needs to be prepared for is it's not a steady salary. So it's not, obviously, it's just not going to be fixed every month until you get into the swing of things and you have long-term clients. Especially at the start, especially during the first year, it's going to be there's going to be highs and there's going to be lows. And that's something that you should factor in. So there's been months where I've earned up to £5,000 in a month, for example. And then there's been months where I've earned maybe £1,000. And so on the months where I earn £1,000, I'm going to need to make sure that I have enough left over from the month so that I earn 5,000 to cover that, additional income that I'm going to need. So yeah, that's something to definitely be prepared for.
Yeah. By the way, are there any dead months for content writers? For example, for me and for lots of other freelancers, June and July are dead months, and I even made a video about that. Lots of freelancers didn't know that there is such a thing like dead months for freelancing. Does it happen to you? Do you have the flow coming in as a freelancer at this season or not?
Actually, no, not this season. I almost wish, because it's summer and I want to enjoy the holidays with my family, and I am trying to prioritize some time to do that. So I've taken on. I'm not at full capacity right now, but it's been more out of a choice. Um, I didn't see that there was less demand these months. But yeah, for me, there have been dead months for me, but again, kind of out of choice, because I was studying some electives as part of a master's that I was doing. So there's been some months where I had to study for exams, and I took on maybe one client or one project that would just cover my expenses. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you determine your hourly rate?
Yeah. So first thing I did, which I would recommend everybody to do before they start, if they haven't already done so, is reach out on LinkedIn, or maybe if you know anybody, other freelance writers or content creators, reach out and see what everybody else's experience is like and what a realistic price to set is. So you want to know what the competition's doing. And a lot of people are, I think the hardest step is maybe asking, but like the majority of, in fact, I think everybody that I contacted was willing to have a quick conversation with me just to help me get started. I mean, you're not much of a threat when you're just starting out. It's like day one. So most people are willing to talk to you. People have been very, very helpful. The first person that I contacted was a girl called Claire Stately, who is a content writer, and she's amazing. She's still, we still talk. We spoke this week for like an hour. She's like become a friend. So it's a great way to meet people, and that's the first thing that I would recommend everybody do. Also, look for information online and see what the average for your country is. You don't want to charge something, you don't want to undercut the competition so much that you can't afford to live where you're living, because people in other countries are going to be able to potentially charge lower rates than you just because they live in a country with lower living expenses. I mean, freelancing is international because the majority of things is done online, and so be mindful of that. Charge something relative to what other people in your area are charging.
Yeah, and also niche down, right? If you are, for example, you are in law, and I am more than sure there are not thousands of uh, content writers who can be as competitive as you because you have background in law.
Yeah, I guess exactly. So like definitely take advantage of any experience that you might have, and use that. I mean, that doesn't mean don't try out different things. I've tried out things that are a lot more creative. But obviously, especially when I was starting out, um, law was just the obvious thing to start off with. So like, white papers or more technical writing, because that was where I could be competitive. And then because I knew that I wanted to try other more creative things, that's kind of how Medium got started, because I had to build my own portfolio of things to showcase what other stuff I could do. So then I started referring clients to Medium. Some people found me on Medium by themselves and asked me to write for them, or to help them with editing or brainstorming things. So yeah, it's just get started and try and get your work out there.
So how do you find clients? Only on Medium, like only through Medium?
No. When I first started to apply for jobs, it was on a site called Upwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Upwork, that's where I started. Then, to be honest, I think it was my first month I was contacted by somebody through Medium. So that was just lucky though. Like I didn't do anything. They just found me. Um, LinkedIn has also been a very good source. Um, then some people that I've interviewed for my podcast have then needed a little bit of help with, writing something for their business. So that's been another source. Honestly, just making connections. I think I cold emailed a few places, and that I also got involved in. For example, there was some marketing consultants that specialized in law, and so those I reached out to and did some work for them. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out to people, but I would be careful with being too open, because I would say that's one mistake that I made. I mean, not mistake, it's just I tend to be very trusting of everyone, which is good, because it's good to make connections, but it's not, you just need to be mindful some people will waste your time. And so
Mm-hmm.
there are clients who, I spent hours on the phone with them, and then it transpired that, I wasn't going to be paid until X happened and X might never happen. And I thought, why am I doing this then? So yeah, definitely be friendly and be open, but be clear and make sure that you know what you're getting into early in the conversation.
Yeah, I always ask freelancers not to encourage people to call them. For example, when I reviewed lots of cover letters on Upwork, I saw that everyone has this ending line. I'm open to calls. Let's jump on a quick call. And this way, you're encouraging people to call you and to waste your time because, like, the majority of clients that I had hired me without even like having a call. The only time that I had a call and then I was hired was for really big projects. But if that's a small project with a small budget, I'm sure that the client is going to waste your time, like with saying, you will get paid when we, get to from point A to point Z. And I don't think that's the right way to treat freelancers. So, coming to that, do you think that the client is always right? And how do you choose your clients?
I don't think the client is always right. It's more about, it's just in the majority of scenarios, there is no right or wrong. There's just somebody has a preference, and that's fine. But you don't always have to accept somebody's preference if it doesn't suit you. You've got to I think a lot of people, it's a conversation. It should be an open negotiation, and there's nothing wrong with negotiating in your own favor. I mean, presumably the client that you're speaking with is a business person or is in business somehow. um, and so that it's not going to be the first time they've had to negotiate, so they shouldn't be unreceptive or intolerant. And I think negotiating and putting forward your needs or your preferences actually shows a bit of character and shows that you're not desperate. And I think sometimes clients can smell if you're desperate. um,
Mm,
so don't be afraid to negotiate, because it's not unreasonable.
yeah. But sometimes what happens if the client starts negotiating, like this is my personal experience. When a client started negotiating, and I was like, okay, let's agree and work with your terms. Later on, they were like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do that. And see, if we were paying you like higher than this, we are not sure that you are the right person. But in general, some KPIs were not set in a correct way. There was some miscommunication because the client disappeared for days, and so on and so forth. So I personally think that if the client starts to negotiate and starts telling you that we are short on budget, they should be looking for other freelancers instead of working with you who has a set budget and who is an already established freelancer.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. I think I'm personally not. It's circumstantial. It really depends. I'm personally not against negotiating, especially
Mhm.
if it's um going to be a long-term client. It just really depends on the situation. If it's like a 500, someone's going to pay you $500, let's say, to do some research and write an article, and it's going to take you 2 days work, and they try to negotiate that, it's a relatively small amount. There are going to be other freelancers. It's a small project. They're going to be able to find somebody else for a
Mhm.
not so technical issue to do it. If it's something where they want you for a month, then there are different types of activities involved, different types of things that you're going to have to do. And also it depends if this is a sunk cost for you. If you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of work, and negotiating a slight reduction because some of the activities you have to do are more relaxed than others, um, then you might be willing to negotiate for that monthly project. if you have a lot of other potential clients coming in, then there's no point in negotiating reducing a salary for one person, because that presents a sunk cost. Because no, sorry, an opportunity cost, because you've got another opportunity that's going to pay you more. If you don't have that other opportunity that's willing to pay you more at that time, then just maybe be open to negotiate a little bit. But again, like, I think the effort and the level of skill required should match the price. So if I'm doing, if they want me to, I don't know, write 2 emails as part of, 2 emails a week as part of a newsletter, that's it, and it's part of a bigger project, fair enough, that might take me half an hour. I don't mind taking that into account and maybe reducing a little bit.
Yeah, got the point. So in your article, you mentioned you advised having 3 types of like rates. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I offer 3 options, just because different clients need different things from
Mm-hmm.
you. So I have an hourly rate, a daily rate, and then a project rate. The majority of clients just pay me a daily rate or hold me on retainer for a month. And so, yeah, if they hold me on retainer for a month, that kind of, it's essentially like the daily rate multiplied by 20 or however many working days there are in that month. So yeah, it's just if they want me to write an article that's going to take me 4 hours to write, that's not even a day. So I'll just charge them for about 4 hours work, which is fair to them in their eyes. They don't want to, feel like they're being overcharged.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So what were your freelancing mistakes when you were getting started?
So one was definitely giving people too much time.
Yeah.
So giving people too much time on the phone, or giving, one time I even did work for free, which I don't advise anybody do. If people want to see examples of your writing, or, well, I mean, it depends. If you don't have a portfolio, I would advise that you start to build a portfolio so that you can refer clients to examples of your writing. But there's some clients that expect you to do, write 500, even if it's just 500 words, that's going to be part of your time. Just to give them a specific sample, and they'll give you like a brief of what they want. And I mean, I don't know, it's again circumstantial. I don't know people's circumstances. So if you're desperate, maybe go ahead and do it if you have the free time. But as a general rule, do not accept to do free work for people. And don't.
Do you mean free work or like free test tasks? Because I think these are different. There are clients who are like, do this and we will pay you when we get to this point. And there are clients like, okay, we want you to do a free test task and then we want to hire you. What's the situation here?
My situation was the second one, so the hiring one. Because maybe they won't hire you. You don't know if you're up against 30 other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've just spent maybe 2 hours of your morning doing a test task when it's not guaranteed. So again, just make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah. So we talked about portfolio. Do you have, of course, you have a portfolio, and how do you share this, your work with the clients other than Medium? Is there anything else?
Yeah, so at the moment it's not on my website, which I'm going to change. I'm going to put it on my website, but I'm in the process of compiling everything, because a lot of the times for a lot of work that I've done, I've signed NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, so there's
Mm-hmm.
confidentiality, so I can't share those. And then because I do a lot of ghostwriting, a lot of it is under the client's name. It's not
Yeah.
under my name. And so I didn't want to publicize the fact that I had written it, because I didn't think that was fair for the client. And so for the moment, I just asked my clients for consent. And they sent me written consent via email saying I'm allowed to share it with clients for portfolio purposes. And so I just have a document with a list of links, for example, that refer potential clients to the website of the client that I did work for, so that they can see some of my previous work.
What do you love most about freelancing?
I love the freedom to dictate my own timing, and to kind of like right now I'm in Spain, for example, with my family. This morning I went snorkeling with my dad. I would never be able to do that in a normal job. It does mean I'm going to be working until like 10 p.m. tonight, probably. But it means I can enjoy the morning. So, you have more freedom than you would in a full-time job.
Yeah, yeah. And what's your advice to those who want to start freelancing?
My advice would be to, God, so much. Firstly, speak to people who have already done what you want to do. And when I say speak to people, I don't mean like just chat to them and see how they're doing. I mean like obviously don't interview them as though it's an interview, but have a list of questions that you want to walk away from that conversation with the answer to. So maybe prepare 3 or 4 key questions to have in mind before, and start putting work out there so that you can start to build a portfolio. Because on Medium, a lot of the stuff on Medium has barely earned me any money. A lot of the articles, especially at the start, because I hardly had any followers. I mean, I still don't have too many followers, but it's just, it'll reap rewards in the long term, and it's just it's gonna give you a place to refer clients to, for an example.
Yeah. I think these are all the questions. Let me check it.
Sure.
Yeah, and one question: is there anything else you would like to share about content writing?
About content writing, one thing I find very useful if you're doing freelance, if you're doing writing, is leave enough time. I personally find this very useful. Make sure you plan sufficient time, so that you've got at least 1 or 2 days before you have to hand the work into the client. Because you will not believe how useful it is to spot mistakes if you edit a day or 2 later, maybe even 2 or 3 days later. And not just like small grammatical errors. Like sometimes I've made structural changes. So yeah, definitely give it some time.
That's great advice. Thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, everyone go for it. Enjoy the summer, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Yeah, and don't be desperate. Even if you are, do not devalue the market by lowering your hourly rates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I will share all the links I have from Laura. If you have any questions, please don't spam her email. But if you have any questions about her career, if you are someone who like has connections that wants to hire Laura, maybe I'm leaving all the details in the description. I will leave the link to her podcast, to her article that I really, really love, 7 pitfalls every freelancer needs to avoid. Pricing pitfalls. So go check them out, and thank you for watching this video. See you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.